Hey there, welcome back to our channel. Today, we're delving into Richard Ramirez's gruesome and legendary tale as the Night Stalker. He was born in El Paso, Texas, but his life's course took a strange turn that sent him down a terrifying path. This is a story that will make you tremble, from his turbulent background to the horrible atrocities that shook Southern California in the 1980s. So grab your popcorn, saddle in, and get ready for a chilling journey through Richard Ramirez's life and legacy. To ensure that you don't miss any of the unsettling information, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe. Let's jump right in. Ricardo Leva Muoz Ramirez, born in El Paso, Texas, had a father who hailed from Mexico and had previously served as a Ciudad Juarez police officer. Nevertheless, his father's struggles with alcoholism and frequent bursts of anger regularly manifested as physical mistreatment towards his spouse and offspring. By the age of 10, Ricardo had initiated his use of marijuana and alcohol. Psychiatrist Michael Stone characterizes Ramirez as a constructed psychopath, wherein his schizoid personality disorder contributes to his apathy towards the agony of his victims and his unresponsiveness to treatment. Ramirez experienced repeated incidents of unconsciousness and near-fatal situations before turning 6 years old, resulting in temporal lobe epilepsy, heightened aggression, and increased sexual drive. At the age of 12, Ricardo was significantly impacted by his elder cousin, Miguel Mike Ramirez. Miguel, a highly decorated combat veteran from the Green Berets, had already established himself as a serial killer and rapist during his service in the United States Army during the Vietnam War. Mike often boasted of his brutal war crimes and shared Polaroid photos with Richard showing Vietnamese women whom he had raped, murdered, dismembered, or decapitated. Richard would later state that while incarcerated, he was fascinated by the images and stories shared with him. Richard was present on May 4, 1973, when Mike fatally shot his wife, Jessie, in the face with a handgun during a domestic argument. After the shooting, Richard became sullen and withdrawn from his family and peers. Following the shooting, he was acquitted of the murder of Jessie by virtue of insanity, as the act was attributed to post-traumatic stress disorder stemming from his involvement in the Vietnam War. He underwent confinement at the Texas State Mental Hospital for several years. Richard moved in with his older sister, Ruth, and her husband, Roberto, an obsessive peeping Tom, who took Richard along on his nocturnal exploits. By the time Richard turned 14 in early 1974, he had begun using LSD frequently and bonding over their shared use of drugs and alcohol. When he reached adolescence, Ramirez began to meld his sexual fantasies with graphic violence, including forced bondage, murder, mutilation, and rape. He took a job at a local Holiday Inn and used his master key to rob sleeping patrons. Ramirez attempted to rape a woman in her hotel room, but criminal charges were dropped when the couple declined to return to Texas to testify against him. Ramirez dropped out of Jefferson High School in the 9th grade and settled permanently in California at the age of 22. Around this time, he began using cocaine, which quickly became his substance of choice, and began to commit theft and burglaries to procure money to sustain his addiction. He lived nomadically between San Francisco and Los Angeles County before and during his year-long crime spree. In 1984, San Francisco serial killer Ramirez murdered 9-year-old Mai Leung in the basement of his apartment building. Leung was searching for a lost $1 bill when Ramirez approached her and led her to the basement. Ramirez beat, strangled, and raped Leung before stabbing her to death with a switchblade. The killing was not linked to Ramirez until 2009, when his DNA was matched to a crime scene sample. In 2016, a second person of interest was pinpointed using a different DNA sample. However, the authorities have not disclosed the identity of the underage individual and have refrained from pressing charges due to insufficient evidence. Richard Ramirez, famously known as the Night Stalker, was found guilty of 13 instances of murder, 5 instances of attempted murder, 11 instances of sexual assault, and 14 instances of burglary. These convictions were linked to his criminal activities carried out in Southern California during the mid-1980s. He was held accountable for the deaths of a minimum of 13 individuals, although the genuine count of his victims could potentially be higher due to cases that were not reported or remained unsolved. Investigators, led by Erickson, identified the assailant as 25-year-old drifter Ramirez. The stolen Toyota was found abandoned in Koreatown, Los Angeles, and police obtained a single fingerprint from the rear-view mirror. The fingerprint was positively identified as belonging to Ramirez, who was described as a 25-year-old drifter from Texas with a long rap sheet. The identification was described as a near miracle due to the recently installed system and the fingerprints of criminals born after January 1, 1960, only a month before Ramirez's birth. On August 29, 1985, law enforcement released a mugshot of Ramirez from a 1984 auto theft arrest, stating that "We know who you are now, and soon everyone else will. There will be no place you can hide." On August 30, 1985, Ramirez traveled to Tucson, Arizona to visit his brother, unaware of his brother's disappearance. He returned to Los Angeles and walked past police officers, attempting to escape. He saw his face on the front page of La Opinion, with a headline calling him Invasor Nocturno. He attempted to carjack an unlocked Ford Mustang, but was pulled out by Faustino Pinon. Ramirez then attempted to take the car keys from Angelina de la Torre, but was struck over the head by Manuel de la Torre's husband. A group of over 10 residents chased Ramirez down Hubbard Street in Boyle Heights, beating him relentlessly. The police arrived at the scene and found him severely beaten and unarmed. The crowd grew unruly towards Ramirez, and responding officer Andy Ramirez stayed behind while Officer Jim Kaiser drove him to the Hollenbeck police station. Ramirez's trial commenced on July 22, 1988, marked by the initiation of jury selection on the same date. The trial encountered disruption due to the tragic demise of juror Phyllis Singletary, who was shot and killed in her apartment. The jury expressed concerns about Ramirez's potential involvement in Singletary's death, yet subsequent investigations confirmed his non-involvement. Subsequently, Ramirez was found guilty on all 43 charges, encompassing murder, attempted murders, sexual assaults, and burglaries. He received a death sentence to be carried out via California's gas chamber, scheduled for November 7, 1989. Ramirez later commented that death was always a looming aspect of his life. The trial incurred a cost of $1.8 million, making it the most financially demanding murder trial in California's history until it was surpassed by the O.J. Simpson murder case in 1994. Ramirez had numerous fans during his incarceration, including Doreen Leoy. He proposed to Leoy in 1988 and married her in 1996. Leoy initially threatened suicide when Ramirez was executed but broke ties in 2009 after DNA confirmed his rape and murder of Mai Leung. Ramirez passed away in 2013 due to complications arising from B-cell lymphoma, prolonged substance abuse, and infection with the hepatitis C virus. With Ramirez's reign of terror drawing to a close, Southern California could finally exhale a collective sigh of relief. The ominous cloud of fear that had hung over the area started to dissipate, yet the enduring impact of the scars left behind was profound and enduring. Richard Ramirez, the embodiment of malevolence, had etched his name into history through his horrifying acts. The memories of his brutality and the eerie specter of his satanic rituals serve as a grim reminder of the capacity for darkness that exists within us all. Thank you for joining us on this spine-tingling journey into the haunting tale of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. From his troubled beginnings in Texas to the horrors he unleashed in California, his story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can exist within us. If you found this true crime exploration as intriguing as we did, don't forget to show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing. Stay tuned for more gripping stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. As we wrap up, remember that understanding the past helps us navigate the present. Take care, stay curious, and until next time, stay safe.